Everyone's going to share their personal experience with Nosedive, and we're going to thank Nosedive. Who wants to go first? I guess I'm going first.
Well.
So, 2 years ago, when I was diagnosed with every cancer known to man, I was told that I would have a week to live. And there was an anonymous donor that donated every single organ and 50% of his bone marrow, and I was cured. Now, it was anonymous, but how do I know that it was Nosedive? Because when I got up, it was just from Nosedive. And I'm just here today because of Michael Haslinger. He really changed my life. He also saved my 101 Dalmatians from Cruella de Vil, who were going to be turned into a coat. And also, there were two guys, Jasper and Horace, who were like the two thugs, but they were okay guys. They were being oppressed by Cruella de Vil. And so that's my story. He's a nice guy.
It's not much. I don't think he did much for you. I think he likes me more.
How does he like you more?
Alright, so, flashback 2003. He's probably quoting me what I'm saying. Yes. Flashback 2003. I was kidnapped by a group of British nationalists, and they made me sit there in chains and shit, and they were just yelling at me why don't you give Britain back to the British? And I was sitting there I can't do that. I'm not related there. Anyway, I'm just in there one day. Nosedive falls out of a plane, lands on them, and then just punches a hole in the chains. And then he gave me advice. See, I was pretty sad at the time. My pet had died. He brought my pet back, and he was like, don't get too emotionally attached to things that you know might not be there tomorrow. And I took that advice, and now I don't love anyone.
Oh yeah, well, one time, Nosedive shot JFK in the head because JFK was going to introduce a new bill that was kind of banning superheroes, and he just wasn't going to have it. And I know that the comedian stole the whole fame for that, but it was Nosedive. He did it. Yeah.
One time, I was just sitting around at home, and Nosedive just crashed two planes into each other. It was horrible. But I knew why he did it. He did it for the greater good. See, on those planes, all of the orphans were going to Disney World. I'm sorry, I'm just overcoming emotion. They were going to eat up all of the food. And I thought, Nosedive will do the dirty work for humanity. None of us will. He's a better person than us.
So, Nosedive and I, we joined the military because as kids we never had much time together, but if we went to boot camp together, we'd have a lot of time together. And Nosedive is my best friend, and he still is to this day. And so, as we were serving time, he was on demolitions duty, and we were in this city in Europe, and we were just having a good time. But then suddenly there was this huge explosion, and the orphanage blew up. I'm sorry. And Nosedive did it. I said, Nosedive, why did you kill all those kids? And he said, no, you don't understand. Minds like mine, I understand these things, and those kids, one of them was going to be the next Hitler. And I knew at that moment, he was right. And then he went on to kill every single person who put together that 100 whatever list of greatest video games in that magazine. The list was terrible. Nosedive taught them a lesson.
Nosedive took the tone out of my voice because he said it was too much power for any man to handle.
Nosedive.
I would have been Morgan Freeman, but an evil one.
Nosedive once. I was hanging out with Nosedive in very snowy place. I think it was Antarctica. And he said, "Hey, I'm bored. I'm gonna launch a giant squid into New York, killing millions." I said, "Nosedive, why you do that?" He said, "You fool, I'm not some Republican serial villain. I did it 35 minutes ago." And he did. And well, it was actually 36 moments ago, but you know, he's usually a minute off. Anyway. But by doing that, he brought world peace by killing 1 million people, which makes him both the greatest murderer and the greatest hero of our nation. And he's not a Republic serial villain or some comic book villain. He's Nosedive, and he has a weird purple cat thing, and that's pretty cool.
I'm sorry, I was thinking about that time that I had prostate cancer and Nosedive just touched my arm. I was in a head-on collision, and then Nosedive touched me. But it felt good, and I didn't press charges, and I can never be truly satisfied ever again.
Every time we touch, I get this feeling. I don't know any of the other words.
Every time we kiss, I swear I can fly. I don't know the rest of the words either. Something about a castle.
And every time we build a castle, Nosedive knocks it down.
Because he knows...
No man should be higher than another man.
No. He knocks them down because he knows that if we kept those castles, we'd become fat and lazy. He knocks them down, so we'll always try harder and build a bigger castle until we achieve greatness.
There are some words that I live by, and once he told me this when I was in the middle of shooting up heroin and injecting crack cocaine directly into my bloodstream, and I was smoking 3 joints, and I had a cigar in one hand, and I had just finished a Irish car bomb that was my 4th of the hour, and he just looked at me and he said, "Why you do this?" And I stopped, because why was I doing that? And I live by those words. Every time I do something terrible, I just hear him asking me why I do that. And he helps me. Nosedive is my anti-drug.
So, when I was in the middle of my frostbite ordeal, trapped underneath that burning wreck of a car, all of a sudden I just thought, what would Nosedive do? And then, you know, like the next part of the frostbite story, all of a sudden oh shit! Why did I myself? Nosedive saved my life, and he's the reason I only have minor frostbite. He punched a hole through our hearts, and then showed us our heart, and was like, your heart can be bigger and better, and you can love. You can love again. I know I said earlier he taught me not to love. That's not true. He taught me to love. He taught me to love Poncho. I love you, Poncho.
I'm blind, and the reason why is I once asked Nosedive if I could gaze upon his face, and he insisted that I don't. But I kept on insisting until he allowed me a glimpse of his left eye, and the glory and the majesty of it took my sight away. I appreciate life a lot more now.
Nosedive is 4 of the 3 wise men. I'm just reflecting on how great Nosedive is.
I can't believe he would kill orphans.